Hello, and welcome to day 2 of Stories for Grown-Ups in aid of the 2.6 challenge for the Stroke Association, a story a day for 26 days. You can find me on Just Giving at Sandra-Regan1 if you'd like to make a donation. Today's story comes from the Middle East. There was once a wise man called Nasruddin, or Hodja Nasruddin, or Mullah Nasruddin. And it's debatable, actually, whether he was a wise man or a fool, but isn't that always the case with wise men and fools? And on this particular occasion, Nasruddin had been labouring in the fields. He'd been working so hard all day long. He hadn't stopped for lunch. He was really, really hungry. And he was dirty, and his clothes were filthy, and his hands were dirty. But he'd been invited to dinner at the home of a wealthy man in the town. And he ummed and ahed to himself, and he thought, well, it'll be fine. He's my friend. He'll accept me as I am. He knows that I've been working, that I've been labouring. It will all be fine. So he made his way to the wealthy man's house, and he knocked on the door. The owner came to the door, and instead of his usual ebullient, arms wide welcome, he looked Nasruddin up, and he looked Nasruddin down, and he turned his back, and just with a beckoning finger indicated that Nasruddin should come into the hall. He went, followed the man into his home, into the dining hall. It was full of people. The tables were long, they were spread, they were piled high with mountains of delicious-looking food. There was hummus and bread, and there were pita breads, there was olives, and there were all the desserts, the baklava, and all these amazing nuts and dates and fruits. He was hungry. He looked around the table, but he couldn't find a seat. And he couldn't catch anybody's eye. Nobody would make space for him at the table. They all carried on their conversations. It's like he didn't exist. So he tried, reaching through and excusing himself to take maybe a handful of nuts or a handful of olives. But he couldn't really get through. He couldn't find the food. He couldn't access the food. And he felt distinctly unwelcome, so he decided to leave. He just turned around and left, and nobody called him back. Nobody asked him to stay. As he was walking home, he thought about this, and he had an idea. So when he got home, he took off his dirty clothes, and from his cupboard he took out his finest clothes, a beautiful, deep red brocade coat with ivory buttons and such detail, stitching on the pockets. Oh, this was a fine garment. And he turned and he went back to the wealthy man's house. He went back to the feast. And this time when he entered the dining hall, everybody turned. Ah, Nasruddin, come here, come sit by me. Look here, take some chickpeas, take some bread. And he took some chickpeas, he took some bread, he put them in his pocket. He took some olives, they went in his pocket too. He took some meat, he took some nuts, they went in his pocket. And slowly the people round the table observed what he was doing and stopped their conversations until, having just put some nice luscious dates and beautiful sweet sticky baklava on top of everything else in his pocket, the whole room was silent, staring at him. And his host said, Nasruddin, what on earth are you doing? Why are you feeding your coat? Nasruddin stood up, showing off his coat in all its glory. Then he said, well, when I first arrived here this evening, it seemed nobody was pleased to see me. Nobody was welcoming to me. Nobody was helping me towards the food. But now, wearing my fine coat, it seems to me it's my coat that is welcome, and not I. And so I feed my coat. That's today's story. Looking forward to sharing another one with you tomorrow. Take care now. Bye bye.